doomsday map.
George Scallion.
Yeah, so a modern kind of prophet. And we're going to focus on the map itself, but also other information about, basically why is everyone building bunkers right now, and who owns all the land, and why are they basically the elites or the rich buying everything up at the moment in what seems like a panic.
Yeah.
They're trading all their shares and buying the land and the farmland and all the good stuff. So that's the decode today. You'll see the map that we're talking about in the background.
So it's Gordon Michael Scallion, so that's the guy. I'm going to give you some background around him as well and how he came up with this map. It's very interesting, very metaphysical.
And we're going to cover Edgar Cayce because he was on the same tangent. There's actually a couple of prophets who've all spoken about this kind of thing, like rising or lower sea levels, volcanic activity, and that kind of thing. But we're going to do a pretty deep dive on this one. It's not a recent thing. But it hasn't really been done that heavily from what I could see. I was looking at my crazy sites that I like to look at, and there wasn't a great deal of info about it. So I kind of found that interesting as well. I think Mindy's just stumbled across this a couple of weeks ago or something, and yeah, so that's kind of where we're heading for today's live.
And I think just to tap in there, we're not going on about this one, but even other prophets like Baba Vanga did say that Europe would disappear. And that's kind of where this goes. So they all have tapped into a similar force field metaphysically, right?
Absolutely. And Europe's probably one of the worst affected in all this.
It does seem to disappear.
Like really bad. It just goes under. So at the same time things go under, other new stuff comes up. So new lands will form. And I think a lot of people would sit around thinking, this sounds totally impossible. Well, just kind of remember Atlantis and all these structures that are under the sea. With the new imagery that we get from satellites at the moment, we're able to now see stuff under the sea we couldn't only years ago.
Yeah.
And they're finding that pretty much everywhere they look, there's another civilization, an old city, and it's all under the sea. So this seems to have happened. And the stone temples and pyramids under the sea are massive. So they weren't obviously built under the bloody sea. They were built above, and these couldn't be that old in theory, 20,000 years ago. So it's that kind of thing. There's also, components who come up with the idea that every 12 to 13,000 years this cycle happens.
So who knows whether land has risen and shrunk and sunk and all that.
Well, it looks like it has because there's shit under there, and it's not just shipwrecks or something. This is massive Mayan temple equivalent things and whole cities. So I think there's something to this. A lot of denial will happen, which is always a good thing. Everyone's allowed their own opinion and whatever. And but yeah, let's kick off with a bit of it. So. We'll be in and out with different videos and photos, and being that we're just trying to smash through this, if you're following along with us, the standard, give us a like, give us a follow, all that kind of begging stuff. But aside from that, throw questions in. We might not get to them all in this session, but we can always come back and answer them at the end or another time. So yeah, feel free to comment. We'll do our best. We don't have enough technology at the moment to see all the comments. We're having a technology issue day, which is so normal. It happens every day.
But share your views as well. Share what you think about the maps and stuff. Interject and tell us what your views are.
Absolutely. Have you heard about this? Is this new or is this old news? Are we boring you to death with old news, or can you add to this? Because we're not saying we know everything. We're just here to decode a basic understanding of what we've come across and what we've discovered. So going on the track itself, it's so why are all the richest people building these fortresses and bunkers all over the world at the moment? It's a telling factor. We've got people like the Facebook dude, Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, I think he just threw down 270 million on one.
We'll talk about him in a minute, but yeah. So while telling everyone else that everything's just fine.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a quiet exodus happening among the 1%, a movement away from coastlines into fortified inland estates. They speak publicly about sustainability and community, but privately they're preparing for something entirely different. What do they know that we don't? And more importantly, what do they think they know?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to decode the maps, the shocking prophets maps, which predict a world reshaped by water and fire. And we're going to overlay these maps into multi-million-dollar escape plans for the elite. It's just not a massive coincidence. Or is it a blueprint for the future that quietly they're all betting on?
So the cartography of fear, a history of doomsday maps. So there is a history here. This instinct to map the apocalypse isn't new. It's as old as civilization itself. Ancient cultures mapped lost continents like Atlantis and Lemuria, spiritual warnings of civilizations that fell into grace. These weren't geographical charts, they were moral tales, maps of fear.
Over centuries, this evolved. Religious prophets of the floods, going into detail about the earth's core cracking, the crust cracking. It was all the same kind of stuff. So it's biblical, and we're taking you into the modern age of the more recent clairvoyance prophets, whatever you want to call them.
And the purpose is always the same, to visualize the unthinkable, to take massive, terrifying possibility and make it feel manageable, something that you can almost hold in your hands. And so George Michael Scallion's awakening, who was he? He was a teacher of consciousness studies and metaphysics, and his entire worldview shifted in the 1970s and the 80s after a profound medical event. He described it as a spiritual awakening, a moment where his consciousness expanded and he began receiving visions of the planet's future. He called these events earth changes, but he didn't see them as a punishment or an end. He framed it as a form of spiritual evolution for the planet itself, a painful but violent rebirth. The maps he produced didn't come from a satellite data or geographical surveys, they came from clairvoyance.
Yeah, he would go into a meditative state, which this sounds exactly like Cayce. This
Yes.
is very, very similar kind of stuff that happened. I think Cayce was also a medical
Event, yeah.
So whenever, you're near death's door or something, people seem to be able to get this going on. So, yeah, so he'd go into a meditative state, and he would see shifting coastlines, rising water, new mountain ranges popping up out of the ocean floor. He would translate these visions into an incredible detail in maps, and the maps that we see here behind us today.
This is a critical point that often gets lost. His work is not scientific prediction, it's a prophetic one. It exists in the space between warning and revelation. His central theory was the blue earth concept. He believed the planet was returning to a predominantly watery state, that the land masses we know are temporary. So this was published in Forbes magazine in 2017 about the billionaires escaping and stuff like that, but we'll get to that point in a minute. But he wasn't alone in predicting a massive geological shift, as Matt said before. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, predicted a more moderate pole shift of 16 to 20 degrees. Scallion's visions were far more extreme. He saw a cataclysmic shift to 20 to 45 degrees. So it's pretty big.
It is. That is some serious wobble.
That's a massive
I think you'd notice
Yes.
things would change quite rapidly. Your weather would change, and I don't even know if gravity had changed. And I think at the moment with all this talk, there's a lot of discussion at the moment online amongst scientists and stuff about our magnetic boundaries basically dropping. So our magnetic force field, which kind of protects us from all the junk in space and UV and radiation and stuff, it's faltering at the moment. It's down to levels they haven't really seen it come down to. So
And the plasma at the moment.
Yeah.
Too. We've got a lot over Australia at the
yeah,
moment.
you go outside at night and you can see, the auroras, which that never happened in Australia. Not when I was a little kid. Never ever. And in the last 3 or 4 years, it's happening a lot. And the east coast of Australia is not somewhere you'd really expect to be able to see that. That's supposed to be up the North Pole kind of region.
So a 25 to 45 degree shift, what would that mean?
That would mean the equator would nearly be at the North Pole.
Yeah, right.
So
it would shift.
massive shift.
The tilt on its axis.
And
wouldn't it?
I don't know, but I would expect a movement like that would cause massive flooding, massive tsunamis. They'd be mile high, and it would just keep going around.
eruptions.
Yeah, everything would wake up, and more than likely you probably wouldn't even know it had happened. You're probably asleep or awake, and if this happened, I think it'd be quick. I don't think you're going to
So
be.
it wouldn't be a minor wobble.
No.
It would be a tilting on its axis event that would unleash tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and
Yeah.
redraw the map.
Absolutely,
virtually.
absolutely.
In a matter of days or weeks.
I don't know. That's the thing. This is all unknown. This is the point. So.
But it's interesting, the prophecy. We're just we're not saying we
Yeah.
believe it 100%. We're just saying that it's interesting.
No, absolutely. And And again, if you know more, jump in the comments and fill us in what you know about either the prophets or a scientist kind of versions of what would happen if the poles did shift.
And one of my takes on it too, I would say, is that they've started to talk about climate change. I'm a climate skeptic. I don't believe that this is true. I believe
Isn't that disinformation?
No. I'm just
it's
saying.
Not
I'm talking about me. I'm not trying to share the what everybody else should think. That's my personal view, because I think there's a bigger agenda at play. But I'm not going to go into that today. What I think is that they're utilising some of this prophecy work and things like that to paint it as a scientific thing. So I don't know if people are old enough to remember Al Gore and the whole rising sea levels, global warming thing.
I remember he made a few $1 billion.
And there was a lot of movies. Like he did a movie on it.
Yeah,
and I remember
totally.
it was at the cinemas when I was like quite young, so I'm not that old. Yeah. But it was still early 2000s when this was happening.
And that was originally, so they kept changing the terminology too because they got it wrong.
Global warming.
So global warming became climate change because it actually got colder. Yeah. So not only was the dickhead wrong, he was 100% opposite of what the reality was. And I've also seen, a lot of photos around of, say, whatever, Sydney Harbour, and they'll have photos from like 1920 of like, the side of a stone wall where the harbour's lapping up against it. And they've got ones today and it's exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same. Nothing's changed.
Are in Europe and things,
Nothing's changed in 100 years. So,
but it's also, is this because they knew that there was going to be some kind of prophecy event that would happen, like we were saying before, what don't they know, or what do they know? And they're trying to reframe it so that it becomes like a scientific theory so that people trust the science. Maybe.
Look, with the amount of weather manipulation, which is another topic we've kind of...
For another day.
Yeah, but it does make sense to this decode because, it was 20 years. If I walked around saying, oh, look at those lines in the sky that plane's dumping, look at all that crap that's fallen on our head in an hour or two that's going to make rain. People just thought you were insane. Like, if there were still asylums in Australia, I'd be in one for mentioning something like that. Yet now all governments are coming out and saying, yeah, we've been doing that forever. It's not a problem.
We're managing the climate.
We saw one the other day that was so ridiculous that if you're getting married, you can pay a company $100,000 American and they will make sure the weather's good by manipulating the weather wherever you're having your event. Like, that's how easy it's become. But apparently we were all crazy for the last 20 years and it never happened. And finally everyone's admitting that it is happening.
Well, we're starting to see more people waking up and seeing that. But this one is a whole nother level of
this is the Earth. This is not just this is not man-made. They can't blame this shit on us either. We didn't make the pole shift, and they can't put a new tax on that. They can't do the pole shift tax. I'm done with this shit.
Well, they probably can actually.
Well, they will. They will. They probably will. We just gave them the idea. There'll be a new tax tomorrow, especially in Australia. That pole shift tax. Every degree we probably got to pay another $100 more a year or something. But anyway, we'll try to get back on the map.
So his work gained a lot of powerful foothold in New Age spiritual circles and even in hardcore prepper communities as well. For the spiritualists, it was a story of planetary ascension. So this isn't necessarily a scary event, but for people prepping, it was a literal blueprint for survival, and they could look at his maps and ask the most practical questions. If this happens, where is safe? And the answers Scallion provided are the same answers that decades later seem to be guiding secret construction projects of the world's most powerful people. So it seems to be overlapping. Is that coincidence? Is that not?
Yeah, I don't know if you're hedging your bets too. Like if you're making a bunker, it's a lot of resource, which is just pure greed, of course, and they only look after themselves. But it's a lot of resource and a lot of money. Like, Facebook dude putting down $270 million for a bunker. That's a lot of money. If you're never going to use it, why would you spend $250,000 on a place you're never going to go? Because you wouldn't go to a bunker for a holiday. Like, it's not really a place you want to live. It's like, you live above it. Yeah. So, so that's a lot of money on a bet. So, and they're not just him, it's Bezos and all these idiots. They're all doing it. So everyone's got their own bunker going. The government's got millions of them, I'm sure.
But where they're building them is the interesting
That's the key. That's the key to it. Like even the Facebook idiot, he's on Hawaii, which would be the last place I'd build a bunker.
But if you look
it's
at
volcanic
maps,
and I think Hawaii's gone. Hawaii doesn't exist.
Is he doing Hawaii, is he?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about him in a minute. Yeah. But So it was a foundation for modern survivalist mythology. And so in North America, the inland sea, it became basically an inland sea according to what Scallion predicted. What did he actually see when he looked at the future of North America?
I'm looking for North America.
So North America over here.
So that whole...
Yeah. So the map is shocking,
So
right?
Canada's kind of gone.
Yeah, it's complete
It's
geographical
gone.
rewrite.
It's not as bad as Europe.
And
Europe, look at that. That's horrible.
If we scroll
I think we're good. I think we're good down in the...
I think, yeah, there's slightly...
It came up, actually. New shit came up.
No, we're here, yeah, and we connect to New Zealand.
Yeah.
But up North America way, it says here that the West Coast, California, as we know it, is gone.
Everything's gone.
So the whole
right
West
inland.
Coast,
Yeah,
look at
it's
it's not just flooded but fragmented. The entire state shatters into a sprawling archipelago. Archipelago of maybe 150 islands. And so the Pacific Ocean doesn't just rise, it charges inland, swallowing Los Angeles, San Francisco, and the entire coastline, pushing eastward until it meets the Sierra Nevada mountains. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of water. Yeah, but the water doesn't stop there. It'll find its path. That's what water does. You can't stop it. You can't make barricades to stop this kind of stuff happening.
It's a literal force, isn't it?
It is. It's a force to be reckoned with. Nature's a strong thing, and so I don't think humans have a chance of. You can't just build some walls. It's not going to work. It's not how it is. So look in the American map. You've got Great Lakes, Michigan, Lake Erie, all these ones.
But they don't just get bigger. They break their banks and they merge together, and then they merge with the Mississippi River, creating a massive continent-splitting waterway that carves right through the American heartland, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And that's hard to imagine. That is hard to visualise, isn't it?
It is. It very much is. And I think it'd be really hard to know, like, if a pole shift happened, do you get time to run up there to the hills? Or is this shit... Is it gradual for a year or two?
Yeah,
or is it already happening? Like, because we get weird things going on. Like, our weather's becoming more humid, and where we used to live in Sydney is now shocking. It's like Philippines or something. It's
very subtropical now.
Yeah, and I would more go on the climate change is total BS, and that if anything is happening, it's pole shifting, and they would really like us not to know. And for fair reason, people would start panicking. And we might go and eat the rich for dinner or something. So there's a reason that everything happens, including the bunkers. And it's a song, the Eat the Rich, by the way.
Yeah,
it's a song.
Anyway.
So that would make more sense. So what these prophets are talking about, kind of, it vibes with me in that respect that I don't believe it's, cows farting and whatever, that's our problem. Definitely not CO2. That's what makes everything green and grow. So that's an oxymoron. And for people to believe that, it's just, I think you didn't go to kindergarten. I think it's that easy to know what CO2 does.
But can you imagine a saltwater channel running from Chicago to New Orleans, turning states like Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas into a new coastline? It's hard to visualize. But now look at the East Coast on the map. Okay, so it suffers a similar fate. The Atlantic pushes inland, not just a few miles or kilometres, but hundreds of kilometres. Cities like New York, Boston, Washington, DC, Miami, they're underwater. The new coastline runs roughly along the Appalachian Mountains, which is always a very interesting place spiritually. If you've ever seen the Appalachian Mountain TikToks and things, it's very interesting.
What is it?
It's like a mysterious place where lots of spiritual energy happens.
Is it like old Indian area or something?
It can be very scary, and lots of mysteries happen, lots of disappearances. So yeah, the Appalachian Mountains, if you haven't looked it up, that's another rabbit hole for you. But it reaching all the way down into Pennsylvania. So if you're in Philadelphia, you're now on the coast. If you're in Pittsburgh, you might be on a new bay. And this radical reshaping creates what is, for me, the most bizarre and fascinating part of his prediction, the new beachfront properties, because that's where a lot of people who have a lot of money and value real estate have built over
Everyone
the last,
builds on the coast.
100 years even, And so with the central US flooded, places that are totally landlocked today and arid suddenly become coastal. Places like Nebraska and Kansas and eastern Colorado are suddenly coastal. which would be weird, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Yeah,
Would be.
and in Australia, we've got, we are an island, and we've got our island becomes kind of smaller at the north.
We're
and
not
the
that
west,
affected though.
but we've got a big inland.
The coastline
Bight
goes.
changes,
Yeah,
so
the
how
Bight has an inland
changes.
ocean now, like an inland sea
And
coming through the Bight.
New Zealand rises and becomes a
It's massive. It's like bigger than Australia.
which is why they're
And
building in New Zealand.
Well, they are.
interestingly enough.
A lot of the elites are New Zealand. I think originally some people were starting to build bunkers in Australia, but I think they've all moved and shifted over to New Zealand. So.
But if you have rising land coming up from the sea, that's going to shake a wall.
Oh man,
So
your
is
bunker's
your-
just going to get
that's what I
destroyed.
mean.
Like I know that they build them pretty strong. Like the Facebook one is like 7 metre thick. Like this is nuclear
But
proof.
they're on a fault line in New
But-
Zealand, so surely if it's rising up from the sea, that
it'll
doesn't
be terrible.
happen in a
It'll be
non-dramatic way.
volcanic. It'll be lava that makes the new land. It'll be.
Have to be.
You wouldn't want to be there when that's going on. Like
So that's what I think is it looks like it's going to be volcanic eruptions that
absolutely.
make almost New Zealand fall
Absolutely,
again.
and even at the top, like the North Pole thing, I don't even know what that is. Like,
Yeah, and did you
What
see
is
if
that?
you zoom in that some of the stuff that's
it's
under
hard
the
to
sea,
zoom in on this one.
and that's okay, that we have on the top there, I think Atlantis actually comes up.
All right.
Does that say
Yeah, I can't
Atlantis?
read that; it's a bit
But
blurry.
one of them, if you're having a look at the map or if you can get it up yourself, but behind us, one of the images becomes Atlantis, and so it comes up from the sea, and he predicted that as well, that some of the land masses actually rise up and form new continents, massive big continents.
And like we were saying before, this must have happened before. Like, there's so many civilizations with massive pyramids and everything all under the water. There's not just one Atlantis. Every time they turn on a satellite with the special sensors that can read the ocean floor, they're just finding civilizations under the sand everywhere. So this is something that seems to occur. To me, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's
Interesting.
if you've got a diving, goggles or whatever, you jump in the water, you're probably going to find something wherever you are that is old
and
not.
tall mountains too.
Yeah. There's massive mountains, and
They've
you
found
can
the civilizations.
like Australia's a pretty boring place for hills. Like we have hills, not mountains. But even then, when you driving around and looking at stuff, like in the tops of those mountains are seashells.
Yes, that is.
So
weird.
these mountains have
Has
come
been
from
under
the
the sea.
they've been pushed up from under the sea
And
or
what's
whatever.
that over here under
I don't even
Australia?
know what that is.
So a new whole country
Yeah,
or landmass
new
forms
landmasses are
under
forming.
Australia, and we have a bridge to New Zealand.
Yeah, you could walk to New Zealand.
That's pretty cool.
I think everyone already moved here, so it doesn't really matter now.
And Tasmania has bridge to the mainland.
Yeah,
And
so Tassie doesn't disappear.
so-
Gets a bit bigger.
Where we are in the south part of Australia, it actually gets larger. So
Yeah.
it's almost
Yeah,
quite
we win.
bigger.
We get
And so we're
extra land.
Yeah, so if you're on the edges, like the sea or the top part of the Bight, the Cape York and all of that,
Yes, you're under. Yeah.
You're gone. Darwin,
Indonesia
all of
doesn't
that.
look very good. Indonesia's
No.
gone.
No, it's very
There's nothing
interesting.
there.
So,
New land's forming.
but the thing about Scallion's future, these are waterfront states now. The Rocky Mountains become the new continental divide. The rugged western edge of this new American Sea is basically those Rocky Mountains. It's a complete inversion of the map we've known for our entire lives. Okay, so just reading here that Matt was asking before, is this going to be a gradual thing or a quick thing? And Scallion described this not as a slow, centuries-long process like climate change, but as a rapid, violent escalation. It begins with a period of intense natural disasters like earthquakes stronger than anything in recorded history, volcanic eruptions along the Pacific Ring of Fire, and bizarre, unpredictable weather patterns that destabilise global systems. So sudden kind of events. This period of chaos acts like a precursor, so we do get a bit of a precursor, a warning, like you were asking before. That's what he
Good
was
to know.
seeing.
Good to know.
I don't know how long
No,
that warning
they're
for.
still not saying lengths, so they got to guess, I suppose.
And then the main event, the pole shift, as the planet axis tilts, and that's when the real flooding begins. The ice caps melt rapidly. But more importantly, the oceans literally slosh across the globe, driven by sudden change in rotation. This is what creates the inland sea almost overnight. It's not a gradual rise, it's a catastrophic inundation.
That's what I suspected. It would not be pretty, and you wouldn't be here.
I think you were right, definitely.
Yeah, you're just going to get washed away. All your shit's gone. You know, all your precious shit that you've been hoarding for years, all underwater.
Well, at least it'll clean it up for us, so we won't
Well,
have
it
to take it to
does.
the tip.
You know, Mother Nature, you know, she gets annoyed, and I think humans have been acting like fleas on her back for too long now. The rapage and pillaging of everything possible in the last 50 years is
All the
it's
manipulation
a fucking disgrace.
of like blocking the sun and
Yeah, all this crap.
things
They're
like
still trying to
that,
block
like
the sun. Like they've got big plans
manipulating
for
the
that.
weather.
It's Mother Nature won't tolerate such stuff. So
So here's
you
another
know.
thought: is are they aware of Scallion's predictions and they're trying to halt or temporarily stop it with weather manipulation?
Well, that's quite possible too.
Because
But
they know more than us.
it's probably more volcanic. Like the amount of pressure on the Earth if it starts tilting axis. Because we're not round either. We're a bit of a, you know, bit of an elliptic kind of shape.
We're
so
not flat.
yeah, we're not flat. I'm not going with the flat shit. No,
I'm just
not
saying
doing
my
that.
beliefs. You
But
can
yeah,
have
I think
yours.
we're a bit of an egg. So you imagine the
Yeah.
egg starts turning. If it was a ball, it wouldn't affect as much. But when an egg turns, you spin an egg around on a countertop, and it goes all weird,
wobbly.
And the internal yolk would be just like our mantle would be all trying to catch up as well. And until it catches up, you're going to have chaos, as far as I'd know.
Well, that's so true.
So, but anyway, good doom, good doom, good doom.
So if you believe
Can only hope.
Scallion's vision, you aren't preparing for a problem your grandchildren might face. You're preparing for an event that could happen within your lifetime, an event that gives you a very narrow window to get out safely. And that idea of the safe zone is a key that connects this 1990s prophecy directly to the billionaires buying up land today. So if you look at Scallion's map of the North America, the places that remain relatively stable, the places that become the new centres of power and population are the right high altitude inland regions, the Rocky Mountains, the Great Plains that become the new coast. It's a very specific blueprint for survival. And as we're about to see, the blueprint has some of the very wealthy, very quiet followers. The sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce was also on this same tangent, and Scallion wasn't the only voice predicting a dramatic reshaping of the world.
Decades before him, another man lying on a couch in Virginia Beach delivered prophecies that would become foundational to the entire doomsday mapping gene. His name was Edgar Cayce, and a lot of people call him the sleeping prophet. Cayce didn't have visions while awake. He'd enter a self-induced trance, a sleep-like state, and answer questions on anything from health to history. I think he did something like 1,400 readings, which is a lot. Like that's hours of work, and he did it for free. So, you know, some prophets I'm a bit edgy on, but all the good ones don't seem to want money.
No.
So, you know, they just do what they're doing for the belief in what they know. So, you know, it's kind of interesting.
They would have been supported with donations. And
They
things
were.
too. Yeah.
Cayce got donated. People donated him food and money and
They didn't
stuff.
have the cost of living we have today.
No, they definitely didn't have the rent crisis and all the other problems that we do. So he predicted a cataclysm that would begin with nearly simultaneous eruptions of two specific volcanoes, Mount Etna and Mount Pepi, on the Caribbean island of Martinique. According to his readings, when these two fire mountains blow at the same time, it'll be the sign. It'll be set in motion, a chain reaction of geological events that would lead to a pole shift. And here's the part that is even more chilling. The countdown to Cayce's prophecy claimed that after these twin eruptions happen, the people living on the west coast of the United States would have a window, a very narrow, very specific window of about 90 days to evacuate before the entire coastline was claimed by the sea. 90 days. This is not a geological time frame. It's a logistical nightmare.
It's the kind of detail that turns a vague prediction into an urgent warning. It implies a rapid, unstoppable sequence of events where the world as we know it unravels into a single season. Now, Cayce's predicted pole shift was less extreme than Scallion's. He talked about a shift of 16 to 20 degrees, not 20 to 45. But the mechanism was similar, a physical alteration of the planet's axis leading to a catastrophic flooding and the rising of new land. What's fascinating is how Cayce, a man who primarily gave health readings, wove these geological prophecies into a larger spiritual narrative. For him, these earth changes weren't random disasters, they were part of a cosmic cycle of cleansing and rebirth, tied directly to humanity's spiritual state. He saw the physical upheaval of the planet as a reflection of collective spiritual upheaval. This connection between the metaphysical and the physical is a key thread that runs through all of these prophetic traditions. It's not about tectonics and ocean currents, it's about karma, consciousness, and the soul of the planet itself.
Cayce, was he like 1930s?
Yes.
To about the 60s or something?
I'm not sure when it ended, but I know it was 30s and 40s.
So he's sort of 30s.
Around, yeah.
And then the Scallion guy
was 70s
is
and 80s,
70s and 80s.
But his prediction of the map that he drew was like 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
so
right.
More recent,
Yeah,
which is
right.
interesting, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean the energy wasn't the same. They were tapping into a similar consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've actually got to look up this other guy more because I've never really heard of him.
Yeah, it was.
I know Cayce. Everyone knows Cayce.
But Gordon Michael Scallion came up in a few of the predictions for this year. Even he had this health event that changed. He had a lot of visions, not just of the maps, about other things in the world as well. And so a lot of people are feeling like it's nearing because of some of the connections or the things that have happened, particularly with like earthquakes in Japan and stuff in like 2011 and stuff like that. So they're all starting, it's beginning over the last 15 years or something. So we're going to see more dramatic events in the next few years apparently too. And so if you think about the spiritual consciousness of the planet, has had a massive shift recently. I believe it has.
Yeah.
And it will only have more of that as time goes along, do you reckon?
Yeah, I think at the moment the world's just gone crazy. There's so much happening, it's very hard to keep up. But the funny thing is, like, I don't know, months ago I did a few earthquakey kind of lives. Had a feeling that something was going to pop. There was, you know, some really big stuff that happened, and we caught it on film, like 7.8, you know, that's a big earthquake. But they were not hitting in the areas that it was actually a prophecy video that I'd done. So I was watching it because the timing, the prophet had said it would be around now. So we pulled it up and, you know, did a bit of that decoding, and it was very, very active for a couple of days. And funnily since then, which is now about a year ago, it's been quite subtle and quiet. So
Is that the calm before the
something's got to give. Like, you know, there must be a lot of build-up in the earth at the moment because it hasn't been shaking much. Like, I know some places, if you live in Japan, you'd be calling me an idiot, you know, because I think your house is shaking right now. But that's, you know, that's where you live, kind of thing. But they're not big ones at the moment. And saying that, you know, I hope we're not vibing one on. It feels like it's been too quiet. Like, everyone, when I was a kid, was always speaking about the 200-year, you know, it's coming. They were always talking about California will fall off into the sea and stuff. And you know, there's so many predictions. It's not just these two guys we're talking about. It's a common thread. I, even as a child, I'd heard it over and over, and I don't even know where from. That everyone expected the big earthquake to come because it's been, whatever, 200 years since we've had a massive one or something. So,
but we did get to see them in our lifetime. We saw in 2004 when we were first together, we saw the one in Southeast Asia, the massive tsunami.
Yeah.
And Japan, you know.
Yeah, they've had a few shakes, but
Fukushima was massive. It was a massive, big shake and tidal waves.
I can't remember the big one when I was a kid. God, it wasn't Edna. What's it called? Helens? Mount St. Helens?
Yep.
Oh, that was scary. You just go and look at a photo of Mount St. Helens. That'll show you the power of nature. It is devastating. It looks like 14 nuclear weapons were thrown at the mountain. It's scary as the power that, you know, exists there.
But for the billionaires buying land in New Zealand and building bunkers in Kansas, the spiritual context might be less important than the practical warning. The idea of a specific observable trigger, like 2 volcanoes erupting, is something that can be monitored, but it turns prophecy into a checklist. And this leads to a very uncomfortable question. If you were one of the wealthiest people on Earth with access to the best scientific minds and private intelligence networks, would you dismiss Cayce's prediction outright? Or would you file it away as a remote but catastrophic risk, the kind of black swan event that rational people in your position would give a contingency plan for?
And I think, not forgetting too, that all the elites basically have their own fortune tellers. Some of them admit to it and others don't.
Very much
But
connected
even
to
like
that.
Prince Charles, he has his own herbalist and psychics that just walk around all day telling him stuff. So the people who always
Astrologers.
act like we're crazy are usually the ones who are actually doing all that stuff. They're very ritualistic, the elites. They like to come across like business people, but the cult is not about business. It's more about control, power, and all the rest of it. And whenever I see them overreacting, I kind of listen to what's going on around me a bit more. like, you know, how many billions of dollars has been thrown down in bunkers in the last few months is astounding. And for that reason, I'll take notice. They know more than us. There's no doubt about it.
And the fact that Cayce's predicted safe zones, the high ground of the Appalachian Mountains, the Rocky Mountain regions, so closely mirror the regions where we see massive land acquisitions today is, well, it's either remarkable as a coincidence or a very quiet validation. It suggests that the blueprint for survival, whether it comes from a sleeping prophet in the 1940s or a clairvoyant in the 1990s, has remained eerily consistent. And that consistency is what makes the next part of the story so compelling, because the prophecy isn't limited to North America. The entire globe is on the table, the global reshuffle, if you will.
If Scallion's vision for North America is dramatic, his forecast for Europe is apocalyptic, an entirely different scale. This isn't just coastal flooding, it's a near total submersion of the entire continent. According to his maps, North Europe simply vanishes. Countries we think as permanent fixtures like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, everything around that area, sink into the sea.
What remains isn't a coastline, but a scattered archipelago of hundreds of small islands, the highest peaks of mountains becoming the only land visible. The United Kingdom faces a similar fate. From the Scottish Highlands down to the English Channel, most of Great Britain is gone. London doesn't flood, but it becomes an island. The city of Birmingham becomes another isolated landmass in a cold new ocean. Much of Ireland, the country, disappears as well, with only its most elevated regions stubbornly remaining above the waters. And so the map of Europe is fundamentally erased, but the changes continue inland. Russia is cut off from the rest of the continent by a terrifying new body of water. The Caspian Sea, the Black Sea, the Kara Sea and the Baltic Sea all merge into one colossal inland ocean stretching deep into Siberia.
Yeah, knowing how, like, the climate crap, they always go on about ocean currents. Like, imagine the chaos, like, all right, you're probably not going to survive the chaos to start with, but if you could, the after event of all the oceans now mixing and stuff would change absolutely everything. It would. It's quite, you know, I can't really fathom what would really happen. Like, it's one thing to look at a map, like the maps behind us, and you're like, oh yeah, it's a shame Europe's gone, but whatever. But you know, everything would change. Like, climate would just be unbelievably crazy. But I think because the prophets keep talking about volcanoes, it'd probably give you the good old 3 days of darkness prophecies that probably kick in, because you're not going to be able to see the sun for a long time, I'd guess. Like, you know, if volcanoes really start pumping off, that's like a nuclear winter, and then you got that problem on top of everything as well. Like, I don't want to overdoom it, but I just kind of...
It's just interesting, isn't it? And it doesn't mean... It's just interesting overlapping with what the billionaires are doing. And I think that's what we're trying to kind of touch on today in Decode is this... like Edgar, Cayce and Scallion's, are their visions actually tied into what they're preparing for and what they're not telling us? So that's the big question.
Absolutely. Like, and from what I've seen interviews with some of the well-known people who are all building bunkers at the moment, they don't say why though. Like, they've been even asked, like, so why are you doing this? And they just scoot around it and don't really answer at all. Like, they just do their politician kind of stuff where they're like, you know, they kind of deny almost that they're even doing it. They're just like, oh, it's just an extension or whatever, you know. Yeah, a $270 million bunker is a little bit more than an extension. But I think, like, either way, I think nothing's in stone, you know, and, you know, prophecies might have been going to come true on this time frame, and maybe the time frames are switched, or, you know, there's a million billion other things that can stop something like this happening.
Sure.
Or it just was never going to happen. Yeah, people could, like, vibe it away, or all sorts of stuff. But yeah, there does seem to be some panic amongst the elites and whatever, and with all the bunker building. So it is just interesting, and it's picked up pace. Like we said before, Bill Gates buying all the land, Musk's now buying all the land, and they're buying the best farmland. And, you know, a lot of the places they're buying are on these maps. They didn't go underwater. So it does appear like they are following some maps, like maybe this one, maybe Cayce's.
People have mapped them out online. They've actually done the overlay.
Yeah, it's easy to do. Satellites will just show you. You drop the water 10 metres, you'll see what happens, and bring it up 10 metres, you'll see what happens. It's not hard to do. I think the difference with the maps we're looking at behind us is that it's not an even thing. It's not like the water just suddenly rises 2 metres like the climate change crap always goes on about. This is like volcanoes sinking into the ocean, massive land. falling. So in their theories, it's kind of, they do then include that the ice caps melt.
Yep.
But that's later, so that's just more chaos.
After it's shifted.
So whatever you're seeing on, say, this map, then maybe in a year or two, 50% goes underneath again. So
in Scallion's vision, Russia was very heavily involved, and so agricultural lands were relatively untouched by the flooding. And it becomes the unlikely breadbasket for the survivors of Europe, because a lot of their farmlands are actually surviving with a water divide between Russia and Europe's mainland. And further south, the devastation is total. The map shows the land between the Mediterranean and the Baltic Sea, essentially the heart of continental Europe, completely lost underwater. France is almost entirely submerged, with a single island remaining around Paris, and a brand new waterway carves a path from Geneva to Zurich, surgically separating Switzerland from what was once France. Italy is divided by the rising Mediterranean. Venice, Rome, Naples, Genoa all sink, becoming underwater ruins. The higher elevations of Sicily and Sardinia become the new islands, and the prophecy suggests that Europe, the cradle of so much modern civilization, would experience the fastest and most severe changes. Its dense population centres and ancient cities sacrificed to the ocean. And this isn't a slow retreat, it's a continental collapse, which is a global reshuffle.
And were you saying before that Baba Venga
Yes,
chimed in and said Europe, so
yes.
She said it disappears?
Yes, she did, yep.
Yeah, I think she was like,
that's probably what she's mainly
religions
referring to.
have a big fight,
Yeah.
other stuff happens, and then it just disappears.
It was kind of a cryptic vision.
Oh, it
of
always
Europe,
is.
And so it does look like, when you look at that map, there isn't much of Europe left.
There's nothing, like Ukraine and
Yes.
stuff's just gone, like gone. So all their food belt now is all gone. So at least it'd stop them all fighting over the land. At least, they don't have that drama going on anymore. They're all
Asia's
swimming.
too. Asia is very severely changed
Asia's
as well.
really,
And
not
so
looking good.
if you thought Europe was bad, Asia is pretty severe too. And he describes a heavily seismic region that will experience the most dramatic earth changes on the planet. The map shows a staggering loss of land, a complete refiguration of the Pacific Rim, starting with Japan. The prophecy is absolute. The islands of Japan, with the exception of a few new small scattered land masses, will sink beneath the sea. The same fate awaits Taiwan and most of the Korean Peninsula.
Philippines, they all look like they're gone.
They are all simply erased from the map, and the cause, according to this theory, is a massive shift in the Pacific plate, a movement of up to 9 degrees, so that's quite a lot, that causes the very foundation of these nations to collapse into the ocean. The devastation continues along the mainland. The entire coastal region of China is pushed inland by hundreds of miles, of major cities like Shanghai and Beijing, home to tens of millions of people, are swallowed. The Philippines, as Matt said before, a series of islands, over 7,000 islands, disappears completely, and Indonesia fractures and breaks apart through the prophecy, and that suggests that the islands will remain, and some of the islands will remain, and intriguingly new land will rise from the waves in this region, which is really weird to see. There is a recurring theme in these doomsday maps, a cycle of destruction and creation. So while Asia is predicted to lose a massive portion of its landmass, the theory also claims that entirely new territories will be born from the tectonic chaos, and that's a total reshuffling of the deck, where familiar geography of Asia is replaced by an alien map of new scattered islands and unknown coastlines. So the sheer scale of population displacement implied here is almost unimaginable, dwarfing every other change that we've discussed. It paints a picture of continent utterly transformed. Its eastern flank, devoured by the Pacific, is identity rewritten by water and fire. This global pattern of loss in population centres and preservation in specific inland zones is what makes the next piece of the puzzle so compelling, because it's no longer a map, it's a pattern of action.
It's funny too, on the map, the places that rise up are very high.
Yes.
Like the mountains become super high. And there's some stuff kind of in here. Where are we? That's kind of Kazakhstan or some stans.
And even Middle East.
There's blips there that look like, oh my God, that'd be like, I don't know, huge mountains.
Even Africa.
Huge mountains coming up and out. New Zealand's the same.
And we've got a landmass down under Australia and under South America that just appear as well.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So it's interesting, isn't it?
It's bizarre. Again, not saying I believe it all.
No.
just doing a decode, you know, of stuff that's out there that you might not know or you might know. Again, drop some comments and stuff. We're just trying to chug through because there's a fair bit of information to get through, and we might do a Q&A at the end, we might not. We'll see how we go. We might want to go and have lunch and not worry about the doom.
But we have these maps, these wild prophetic continent-shattering maps. And for most of us, they're a curiosity or a fascination, like I was saying before.
It's interesting.
Like a what-if scenario.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That we might discuss late at night, right?
That's it.
But what if someone looked at these maps and didn't see a fantasy? What if they saw a real estate prospectus?
Well, that's what rich people do, isn't it?
That's right. And this is where the decode changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the movements of the world's ultra-wealthy creates a pattern of the map on their own. And that's where you overlay that pattern with the prophecies of Scallion and Cayce. And the lines do start to converge. This isn't us making it up.
No.
It's literally what's out
It's
there.
where they're buying
Yes.
off these maps.
In a way
Is it chance
that is
or
deeply
not?
unsettling.
Yeah.
So you can do the Bill Gates talk.
Let's start with Bill Gates, me old mate. Yes. Yeah, so there's a lot in the media actually about Bill at the moment, and obviously because he's a naughty boy, and his wife's ex-wife's
gonna
been a
go
bit
into
grumpy,
that.
which is good.
Yes.
Suck it, Bill, you piece of maggot shit.
All right, okay.
All right, anyway. All right. Let's start with Bill Gates. We know him as the tech visionary, more of a stealer of other people's ideas in my head. He's not smart. I think he's also a doctor. He's a specialist now or something like that.
How is it?
Yeah, apparently he's the world specialist. Anyway, but behind the scenes, through his investment arm, he has become the largest private landowner of farmland in the United States. One of the most ambiguous projects in place, called Belmont, a 28,000 acre plot in the Arizona desert. Officially, it's built as a smart city, a futuristic community built around cutting-edge technology and autonomous vehicles. Excuse me. But the location is telling. It's inland. It's in a region of Scallion's maps, showing the remaining largely dry, and even as the coast is drowned, it's designed from the ground up as a self-sufficient with its own infrastructure spine that's not just a city, it's a prototype of a post-disaster society. And then there's Bezos, old Jeffy boy with his Petus rockets, you know, that guy. He's amassed a staggering 400,000 acres of Texas ranch land. Again, the official reasoning is vague. His investment diversification, that kind of excuse coming up. But looking at the location, it's not on the vulnerable side of the Gulf Coast. It's deep in the heart of Texas, another area that the Doomsday Map becomes a critical inland region. He owns enough land to support a small nation with all the resources. But the most telling case study, the one that moves this form of speculation land deals to active preparation, is Mark Zuckerberg's Cayce Ranch. I probably said that wrong. It's a place in Hawaii, so, you know. Mark Zuckerberg's Hawaiian island isn't just a vacation home. It's a $270 million fortress. The crown jewel of his 1,400 acre compound is a $100 million, 500 square foot underground bunker. We're talking about a reinforced basement. This bunker is engineered for long-term total self-sufficiency and has blast-resistant concrete filled metal doors. It has independent energy, water and food systems. It's connected by secret tunnels to not just one, but two massive mansions. The entire compound is self-contained world with 30 bedrooms, 11 tree houses, gyms, pools, and even a cattle ranch. Now, I looked at the plans of this thing today, just roughly, and it's really weird because they've got a lot of security. There's a lot of people working on that ranch, so like you could throw down your $270 million on your doomsday bunker, but to run this thing is really expensive. Like he would be spending millions a year on a place that he wouldn't go to have all the security. All the locals hate him because he kicks them off the beaches. He won't let anyone near his shit. He's built fences everywhere, but he's got really strange things, not just tunnels, but he's got these like walkways through the trees. It's bizarre to look at. He's really overdoing it. For, you know, if something really bad happened, he's pretty much acting like he's built out a stop the zombie apocalypse. Like, so people can be shot from all these walkways that go through trees, and you can get around without being on the ground. You can go underground or above in the trees. It's totally bizarre. It's just, to me it's unfathomable money, and just for him and his mates. So I hope we get a shake and he goes and jumps in his little bunker and someone pours concrete over the airports on it, and good. But yeah.
Now, publicly, Zuckerberg and his wife talk about conservation and community and have donated significantly to local charities in Hawaii. But those two realities, the public-facing philanthropy and the privately built doomsday bunker, exist in stark contrast. It's the perfect embodiment of the disconnect we opened with, telling the world everything is fine, whilst building a fortress to survive when it's not. This pattern extends to other billionaires like Ted Turner with 2 million acres across Montana and Nebraska, John Malone, the largest landowner in America, and they're all accumulating vast inland agriculturally viable territories. The official explanations are always the same: tax shelters, conservation easements, ranch investments, and those are perfectly rational, plausible reasons. But when you see the scale and you see the specific locations, the Rocky Mountain region, the Great Plains, New Zealand, which Scallion predicted would become the glory land, you have to ask the question, is this just a series of coincidental smart investments, or is there some quiet consensus among people with the most resources and the best information that certain parts of the world are going to be very, very valuable in the future? These maps seem to be following were drawn decades ago by men who claim to see the future. And that convergence is either the biggest coincidence of the century or it's a blueprint we're all meant to ignore. The Zuckerberg compound case study. So in preparedness, the Koalu Ranch project takes the concept of billionaire preparedness from a theoretical land grab to a concrete, almost cinematic reality. This isn't just about owning a remote property, it's about engineering a completely self-contained world capable of surviving total collapse. Let's break down why that compound is so unique. The underground bunker itself is the centerpiece, but its true sophistication lies in its integration with the entire estate. It's not a standalone panic room, it's the secure core of a sprawling above-ground paradise. The bunker's design specs read like something from a sci-fi novel. Those blast-resistant doors aren't just strong, they're filled with concrete designed to withstand immense pressure, whether from an explosion or the structural stresses of a catastrophic geological event. Inside, the focus is on total independence. The mechanical room with its escape hatch is a clear indication that this is a long-term habitat, not a temporary shelter. It has its own energy systems, likely of a combination of geothermal, solar and massive battery banks, completely disconnected from any public grid. The food systems point to hydroponics or advanced aquaculture capable of producing sustenance indefinitely without relying on outside supply chains. But the most telling detail is the tunnel. This underground passage connecting the bunker to the main mansions transforms the entire compound into a single defensible unit. It means that in a crisis, the inhabitants can move from their luxury daily lives with maximum security without ever stepping into the open air. This seamless transition from normalcy to lockdown is the ultimate expression of controlled preparedness. So Matt's actually looked at this more than I have, but being able to go from above ground to underground, seamlessly is pretty interesting, isn't it?
It is, and I personally don't know if I'd bother with all this shit anyway. If the world's going to be that shit, I think I'd rather sit on my roof with a beer and watch it end than running around like a mole.
Yeah, it shows that the spiritual disconnect is
there.
Oh,
that's it. They're just so narcissistic,
right?
worrying about themselves too much. Yeah, bloody hell. But anyway, yes, you do get that.
And so they are the visible tip of the iceberg. The bunker and its tunnel system are the immense hidden structure beneath, supporting the whole operation and ready to become an entire world if necessary. The extreme secrecy enforced by the NDAs is perhaps the most revealing aspect of all. Why such intense opacity for a conservation-focused family retreat? The firing of workers for sharing information online goes beyond the standard privacy concerns. It suggests that the true purpose of the facility is something the owners do not want scrutinised or understood by the public. This creates a powerful dissonance between what's going on. Publicly, the narrative is one of community and environmental stewardship backed by significant charitable donations. Privately, the project is shrouded in a level of secrecy typically reserved for classified government installations. This isn't just preparing for a disaster, it's preparing in a way that actively hides the scale and intent of that preparation from the very community that it is trying to support. So the Zuckerberg compound therefore stands as the ultimate case study. It demonstrates that for the ultra elite, survival isn't just about having a safe place to go, it's about building that place in plain sight while ensuring no one truly understands what it is, or more importantly, what it is, what its existence implies they believe about the future. It's the quiet exodus that manifests in concrete and steel. So.
Yeah, well, if you live in Hawaii, you should put that in your GPS. So if everything starts shaking, head down to Mark's place. I'm sure he'll let you in. Just give him a knock on the door, bring a bottle of wine. Oh, he'll let you in. You can live with him. He'll be charitable, I'm sure.
He has enough rooms, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's got 30 rooms. There's heaps, plenty. Yeah, so for time, how long have we been yapping?
For a while.
Yeah.
Over an hour.
All right. So
I think
do you want to wrap it as a part 2 kind of thing?
We've only got a little bit to go.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
So the real question is, when you have the billionaires and their bunkers, the real question is what happens when you lay one on top of each other. The overlap is not just coincidence, it's convergence. It's a pattern that points to the very specific set of locations that both the visionaries and the capitalists have identified as the real estate of the future. So we can do the overlay next time if you want to, or do you want to keep going just to finish? Maybe check.
I don't know if I should touch that.
Yeah, you can, because I can come back. Oh, it is actually quite a
lot. Whoa.
All right, so we'll just say, all right?
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do is leave that there. So we're going to talk about the safe zones, the billionaires, the convergence, and go into a bit more detail about the pole shifts and what Scallion actually predicted and how that overlay is really interesting. There's a lot more to uncover. So join us next week.
We'll come back next week. We've been going for an hour and we've got stuff we've got to do today, so we have to leave it there. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, do the standard, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Throw your comments in, and next week we'll answer your comments. So when we come back, we might do a Q&A first even, and get rid of comments. So do comment, and even if you saw it as not as a live comment, we'll have a look around, because there's some smart people out there, smarter than us. So we'll be interested to know what you guys think, and whether you just think
I'm sure you can teach us some stuff too.
That's it.
We're always open to
That's
learning.
it. And you can call me fully cooked if you want. It's all fine. Not a drama.
This is just something we find interesting. We're not saying we totally believe that all of this is going to manifest.
And I wouldn't want this to happen either. It'd be pretty shit. So
but it's interesting.